Hello everyone and welcome to another live with Door Buddy. How exciting. We really can't wait to kick this one off. If you haven't seen, we are going to be joined by Jane, who is the owner of WagWorthy Naturals, and she's going to take us through everything about senior dog care. If there's anyone who knows about looking after an older dog, she is your lady. She also has some really awesome resources to share with everyone. So I hope it's a good live. If you have any questions at any stage, just pop them below and we will get to them. I'm going to try and pull in Jane here. If you guys give me 1 second. Let's see. But yeah, like joined by Jane from WagWorthy Naturals. I really do think this is a good live. If you haven't catched our last one, make sure to look in our grid. Hi, Jane. So
Hey,
nice to see you.
great to see you too, and welcome everyone that's joining us. Thanks for being on, and I'm really excited to be here today, and excited to share some tips about one of my great passions, which is senior dog health and wellness.
I'm excited to learn. I have James, my 14-year-old Dachshund, sitting right next to me, so I'm definitely excited to get some tips from you.
James, oh, we love James, 14, how sweet.
Come here, James. Jake, I'll try and grab him, but he is fast asleep. I'm
Okay,
obviously, as some of you may notice, I sound a bit strange. I'm in South Africa, so it's 9 p.m. outside, and he is well asleep. He is fast asleep.
time for James.
Yeah. James. Oh, cool. Well, Jane, I'm going to kick this off by explaining who I am and what we are as a brand, and then I'll hand it over to you to explain WagWorthy Naturals a little bit.
Sure.
So obviously I'm Courtney. I'm the marketing manager here at Door Buddy. And at Door Buddy, we have an adjustable door strap that lets cats in and keeps dogs and babies out. So a huge focus for us is just making sure our pets and general family are happy and healthy. And that's exactly why I'm so excited to speak to Jane.
Awesome. And I'm Jane Bernard. I'm the founder of WagWorthy Naturals, and we make healthy, all-natural supplements for dogs that are designed to optimize your dog's happy dance and promote their health and longevity.
Oh, I love that. I love the name WagWorthy. It's so sweet. You can just
Thank
totally
you.
see it, like
Thank you.
doing a happy dance.
Yeah, well, that's what it's designed to do. Our products are designed to optimize your dog's happy dance. And because I'm really passionate and we're really passionate about making a difference for all dogs, we donate a percentage of our proceeds to Senior Dog Rescue and to also low cost and subsidized spay neuter programs.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love visiting your page always when I'm feeling like I need some cute pups in my life. Always go and check yours out. So everyone make sure to go and follow Jane if you need some cute dogs.
Aw, thank you. Well, our tagline, and I really firmly believe this, is that all tails deserve to wag.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt, without a doubt. There's nothing better than seeing a happy dog, which
Yeah.
is funny. A lot of people think with Door Buddy, we obviously keeping dogs out of rooms. They think we're being mean to dogs, and it's so completely, totally the opposite thing. And we'll get into that later. But we're trying to keep our dogs' tails wagging and keeping them healthy. So we'll get into that, don't worry. But just so to give everyone a teaser of what's to come, we're kind of going to be covering how to care for your older dog, like what you should look out for in an older dog, and just kind of, how we make sure our dogs' golden years are great and they're not stuck with ailments, and how can Jane's product help them through that. So with that in mind, I've got my notes behind me, so please do excuse me if I'm looking behind my phone. The first question I had for you, Jane, because you are the expert, I mean, we obviously know like the puppy years are very identifiable compared to when your dog's more like they're teenagers or the adult years. But when they kind of go to that adult year to senior dog years, it kind of gets a bit gray. So how do you know exactly when your dog is considered a senior dog?
So kind of the overall general question, a general answer to that question is 7 to 9 years old, but it really depends, right? If you have one of the giant breeds like a Great Dane or a Mastiff, they're actually considered seniors when they get to be 6 years old.
Oh,
And then
wow.
when you have a dachshund or you've got a 10-pound Chihuahua, they might not become a senior dog until they're in the 9 to 12 year range. So it's a little bit relative. I mean, the rule of thumb, 7 to 9 does apply, but if you've got a giant breed, it's younger. And if you've got a little bitty guy, tends to be a little bit older. So, I mean, that's the beauty of having a dachshund, and that James is a dachshund, because he's going to be with you a long time, as opposed to a Great Dane, right?
Mm. Yeah, shame. He's a rescue dog as well, so he's very special.
Oh, awesome.
But that's interesting what you're saying about, dogs having you you think having 6 years on your side, like that isn't a lot, and you think
No.
those younger years you're not going to care too much about their health. So why should someone care about their health for a senior dog if you're not even paying attention in the younger years?
No, it's a really good question. And I think, for many of us, when we have a dog that's younger, they're healthy, they're vital, it just seems like just like us, right? You can really take their health for granted. But as they get to be older, just like people, they start to have different needs. And speaking for myself, and I think I bet everybody on feels this way, selfishly and altruistically, I want my dogs to live as long as they possibly can because they're family, right?
Mhm.
They're my joy. They're in my day-to-day life. Walking my dog is one of the things that keeps me sane. And so I want to promote health and longevity of my dog and of my clients' dogs for as long as possible. So there are some special needs as they get to be seniors, there are some things that they require for support. And I want to encourage everybody out there to think about doing this sooner rather than later. Like, it's always better to prevent things than it is to be kind of when the house is on fire, to try to put it out, right?
Yeah.
So think about starting things earlier rather than later. And it doesn't have to be complicated or involved.
Hmm.
But things that you do today can mean an extra 2 or even 3 years with your dog down the road. So it's a
And
really good question.
because I think the same is to be said about, our health. I think in our younger
Yeah.
years we tend to take things for by advantage. We don't care for ourselves as much. We don't wear sunscreen. We don't drink enough water. And then as we get older, the wrinkles start appearing, the sunspots start appearing, and you think, oh, I could have done all these things differently. Obviously, I know those are very superficial things compared to like your dog's health. I mean, talking about wrinkles.
No, but we all have what's important to us and in our lives, and so it's a really valid point, and it's a great analogy because it helps people to think about how one relates to the other.
Definitely. I think, and I had a live with Sarah Miles from Smiles Dog Training a couple of weeks ago, and we're comparing a dog's behavior to a toddler, and it's just so amazing how often like these human tendencies overlap with dogs. And I think you can, if you're looking at your dog and you're saying, okay, you see you're getting gray, you shouldn't really be on the adult food. Maybe we should go to the vet and go into the senior food. That can make a huge difference in your pet's overall health if you start actually like humanizing their behaviors. Am I right?
Yeah, just thinking about it proactively.
Yeah.
I mean, we can tend to almost over anthropomorphize our dogs in a way, but health and aging are similar in animals to people. It's all part of being alive and walking on this planet.
That is true. So with that in mind, are there some things that you really recommend people doing to help them care for a senior pet? Like, what are the things that we really need to look out for? Is it diet? Is it supplements? Is it exercise? Is it all three?
Sure, sure. And I was saying to Courtney before we started this, my goal today is to give everyone some things that are simple and actionable and not give you a bunch of jargon and make things complicated because frankly, we're all really busy. We all have busy lives and it's hard to fit everything in. So keeping it simple, my goal is that your takeaway today is that I give you something that's actionable. So number one, and I will say, you hear a lot, people will say, oh, my dog's getting older. He's starting to slow down. Well, yes, the exercise needs of a dog that's 9 or 10 are very different from a dog that's 1 or 2. But in reality, if you do some simple things to keep your dog healthy, there's no reason why they shouldn't continue to be healthy and active. And it may indeed be that your dog is slowing down, or it may be that there's some simple things that you could do to help them be more active, to help them be more comfortable. So number one, and people sometimes groan when I say this, is weight, right? Just like humans, right? As the years go by, we can put on a few extra pounds, and that equates to when you're heavier, it's less comfortable to move. And it also contributes, especially with dogs whose lives are so short in relation to ours, it can really contribute to things like diabetes or kidney disease and even heart issues. So by keeping your dog thin, that's like taking out insurance to help your dog live long. And a couple simple things that you can do to determine if your dog, are they a healthy weight or are they overweight? And this is when we have to kind of look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, we all love giving treats to our dogs, and food is love, right? But let's look ourselves in the mirror and be honest. Are they packing a few extra pounds? And so two things. One is run your fingers along their flanks, and can you actually, I'm not talking about pressing in hard, but just running your fingers along their flanks. Can you feel their ribs?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is look down at them from above. And do they have a little bit of a waist or an hourglass shape, or are they more bread loaf shaped, or are they more kind of like a Goodyear blimp, right? So those are some indications that your dog is packing some extra pounds. And something that I want everybody to be aware of is dog food companies are in the business of selling dog food. And so the recommendations on the back of the package of whatever you're feeding your animals, whether it's kibble or whether it's, raw fed or whatever, those recommendations might be generous
Oh,
for
wow.
your dog.
I never.
Yes. And think about it, right? Because that's their business, is selling dog food. The more your dog eats, the more you buy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So think about that. And also, what I do is I pay attention to my dog. And if it seems like he's, a little on the heavy side, I cut his food back by 15% or 10%. I'm not going to put him on a starvation diet. I'm just going to cut his food back. And I also have to take into account the treats. And for example, my mom, for my mom, food is love. And every time I visit her, it seemed like her dog was gaining another 5 pounds. And then finally I said, Mom, we've got to take a look at this. We've got to factor in the treats. So maybe you look for some lower calorie treats, or maybe, you figure out how much you're going to feed your dog every day. And instead of feeding that to them all at one time, you reserve some of that, and give that to them as treats. Or, there are really creative ways to help your dog reduce their caloric intake. And also getting more exercise. If they lose weight, then they're going to feel better and they're going to get more exercise as well. So, and I want to give everyone if your dog is overweight, and this is so mind-blowing, but vets say that 56% of all dogs in the United States are packing extra pounds.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit of an issue, right? So there's a site called petobesityprevention.org, and that was started by veterinarians, and it has great resources and tips for how to help your dogs lose weight, how to make sure that they're a healthy weight. I just want to call out and say, hey, Sunshine Dogs, I saw that they just joined. Welcome. And so petobesityprevention.org is a great resource if you feel like you want to help your dog lose weight. So number one is weight. And we're talking about, for those of you that just joined, we're talking about senior dog health and some really simple things that you can do to ensure that your dogs live a really long, healthy life, because I know you're like me and you want your dog to be around as long as they possibly can. And you included, Courtney, right? So we're talking weight and then dental health. And, as dogs age, I have to say, I tell people that it's important to brush their dog's teeth. Man, I don't always do it. Hi, K Sharp
Ah,
9. I say welcome. I don't always do it. And
yeah.
I give him the dental health chews, and I do make sure, that he gets a checkup and that the vets look at his teeth. But I want everybody to be aware of how important oral health is in relation to your dog's overall health, wellness, and longevity. And bad oral health can really degrade their overall health.
And
So
that's,
things like,
sorry, it's just such an easy thing to forget about. You just put on the back
yeah,
burner, especially if you're neglecting your dog's health in the earlier years, like we were talking about. If this is something you're only visiting in their senior years, you've got a lot of time to catch up.
yeah, it is so important. That's so true. So, things like an abscess or an infection, you might not be aware of them. So the story that I like to tell is I had a dog. She actually lived to be 17. And when she was about 12 or 13, she started obsessively licking her paws. She seemed more nervous, and she was having some issues with arthritis. I took her to the vet, and it turned out in the back of her mouth on the inside, she had a cracked tooth that was allowing bacteria to get below the gum line. Her gums weren't red. I didn't see any sign of oral issues. And she had that tooth extracted, and the licking stopped, the nervousness stopped, and she lived to be 17.
Oh,
So
wow.
that, sometimes you might see red gums, but you might not. I
Mhm.
had an issue about 2 years ago where almost overnight my dog seemed to develop a huge amount of tartar, and his breath was like it would just knock you over, intense. And it turned out that he had chewed on a stick and gotten a piece of wood. I'm not kidding you, it was like this long, wedged back in his back molars. And so,
Mm.
$1,000 later, we had it removed. I mean, I do have pet insurance, which I encourage everyone to get,
Yeah.
but think about your dog's dental health. And so, do your best with brushing their teeth, do your best giving them dental chews, but especially as they get to be seniors, make sure they get a dental checkup at least once a year, right? Because that can make such a big difference overall in their health and wellness. So, weight, dental health, and then regular vet visits. Um, Courtney, vets actually say that when dogs get to be seniors, it's great to take them in every 6 months. I mean,
Okay.
that might not work for everyone, but I think especially, there's senior dog status and then there's geriatric status. So,
Mhm.
like for you, James is 14, he's approaching geriatric,
He is.
even though he's a smaller dog. He's senior, but he's on his way to that. So,
Yeah.
especially when dogs get to be geriatric twice a year, and
Okay.
then, yeah. And, I've hardly taken a breath. So if anybody has a question, please drop it in. And it is Sunshine Dogs. It is so easy to forget, and
Yeah, we've had
overlook.
a good tip come through about keeping their dog's toothbrush next to theirs, so they have to do it and they have to remember.
Oh,
That's a tip.
it's a really good idea. Um, and then the last thing is regular exercise. And, yes, your dog might, when they're 9, 10, 11, 12, they might not need the same level of exercise that they did when they were 1, 2, or 3. But if you can keep your dog active, they're going to live longer. And
Hmm.
so, we're talking about weight, dental health, that all contributes to your dog staying healthy and active. And, just because a dog is a senior, they still need mental enrichment and engagement to stay healthy and vital. And so keeping their weight low, giving them regular exercise, and maybe that means shorter walks. But also, I recommend um, starting them on a really quality hip and joint supplement before they start showing signs of stiffness and arthritis, because once a dog starts showing signs of stiffness and arthritis, it means that there's some inflammation happening. And inflammation is degrading to cartilage tissue, to joint tissue, to bone. Um, and so it's almost like if you can head that off at the pass and prevent or delay the the signs of arthritis and osteoarthritis, you can actually delay the degradation or the development of it. And so people don't realize, you know, when dogs get to be 5 or 6 or 7, to start them then, as opposed to when they actually see signs. And just a really quick 2 things. One is, please know that all supplements are not created equal. So just if you go to a discount store, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And because that a product says that it's got this much dosage, you know, of, I want to say welcome to Corky, and also Storm, who just joined us. But so what I want to tell you is that supplements for animals are not regulated by the FDA. So if you go to a discount store and buy a discount off brand, chances are if you had that analyzed, it's not going to actually have the dosage of ingredients that it says on the package. You cannot guarantee that. So I want to remind everybody and encourage everyone to think about, you get what you pay for, right? And with our products, what we do is we test all the ingredients when they come in 3 times for purity, concentration, and then we also test the finished product to make sure that the dosages are exactly what they say on the package.
So you're ready to put in like the quality checks. You really make sure that dogs are getting the best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So, so remember, you get what you pay for, and think about supplementing before you see signs. So a really quick story. I had a client who has a 9-year-old golden retriever say to me, you know, my dog was when I would come home, my dog used to run down the hall to greet me and do this incredible happy dance. And slowly that stopped. And then she started giving her our hip and joint supplement. And she said, it was like, oh my God, it was that happy dance was back. And so the point being is those kind of things happen slowly and they're subtle. And you might think, oh, it's just because my dog is aging. But really, you might be able to do something to really make a big difference for them. So anyway, I know I've talked for quite a bit of time about those 3 things, but I want to encourage everybody, weight, dental health, regular vet visits, and regular exercise. And that will keep our dogs healthy longer and with us longer.
I think with the regular exercise, you know, people often get like, oh, I have to spend the whole day at work. The last thing I want to do is dog for a walk. But honestly, sometimes it's just 15 minutes, even playing with your dog in your room and throwing a ball for them to catch outside. It doesn't have to be like an hour-long process. I mean, gosh, I get it. Walking the dog at the end of the day, I'm like, this is the last thing I want to do. But not only good for your mental health to get those toxins going and just, you know, flexing your muscles after being behind the desk the whole day. But your
it's
dog,
as good for us as it is for them.
Exactly. And just to highlight again, it's so funny that, you know, dental health, going to the vet regularly, weight, exercise, the things that we're focusing on for our dogs are things we're focusing on for ourselves too. So if you're putting the effort in with your dog, you'll put it in with yourself and you'll thank yourself later. So still win. But Jane, while we're talking about supplements and checking the quality of ingredients there, it got me thinking a lot can be said about dog food too. You know, if you go to the discount store and you buy just normal brand dog food compared to something that is vet, what's the word I'm looking for, vet certified or something like that, those are very different offerings. Our vet always likes to compare it to like getting McDonald's and getting a home cooked meal. It's like the new
so true.
Yeah. So with that in mind, while we're talking about homemade food, do you think homemade dog food is better for our dogs? Is that a way for us to ensure that they're getting like a very well balanced diet, they're getting the nutrients they need, or is that something that still needs supplementing? Is there something we're missing on that?
It's a good question, and it's such a big topic of conversation. And what I want to say, Courtney, to start with is, you know, if you have a passion for doing homemade and you'd like to cook and you'd like to do that for your dog and you're willing to do the research and put the time in, it's awesome. But the reality is that's not easy for everyone. And it also can be expensive, you know? And so I don't want to shame anybody who doesn't raw feed or doesn't have the time or that's not their calling. I think that there are a lot of ways to give your dog a really healthy, balanced diet, and do your homework. You know, again, if you're going to go to the discount store and buy discount food, that is lower quality, right? You know, that's kind of like McDonald's or feeding your kids sugary cereals, right? Garbage in, garbage out. But like, for example, I shop at a privately owned pet store by somebody who's really passionate, carries really high quality brands. You know, I can go in there and talk to her. She does the research. I also do my own research, but she's a resource for me. And so, you know, I encourage people to do what works for them, but be aware of the quality of what you're feeding your dog, and know that that also is an insurance policy long term. And I will say, if you are going to do homemade dog food and do raw fed, I cheer you on, because I do think that that's a healthy thing to do for your dog. But I also encourage you to do your homework and know what it is that you need to feed and supplement. And, you know, there's some great resources out there. Whole Dog Journal has great information about raw fed.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah. And then some of the, you know, there are a lot of companies now that are offering raw food, you know, or doing prepared versions. Like we have a little, we have a great place here in town called Shine Pet Food, and they do raw fed, and they also do kind of prepared versions of raw fed. And so I'll mix that in with Ollie's food. But, you know, I will say that people who just do homemade without doing the research and knowing what it is that they're giving to their dogs, there can be issues. So do
It's
your
also
homework.
track calories, isn't it? You know, with like kibble or dry food, it's easier to weigh out the food and know, okay, giving my dogs this many, it's grams here, but
Yeah.
uh, that is equated to this many calories. It's easier to keep track of that. But if you're doing homemade food and you fruit this many potatoes, this many bones, and it's hard to keep
It's
track
hard
of.
to keep track. And what I would encourage people to do is, you know, if you're not able to, you know, like we said, do your homework. If it's your passion, go for it. I cheer you on. But, you know, if maybe you're someone like me, who I sometimes feed kibble, and then I mix in some of, you know, the stuff that I buy from Shine, where they do a prepared raw food. I also mix in some Honest Kitchen, you know, do some of their dehydrated food with maybe some raw fish or things like that. So I make sure that I'm giving Ollie everything he needs, but I'm also realistic about my lifestyle and running a business, and, you know, etc. So, and certainly, like, you know, you have a toddler, right? When you have a toddler, it can be really hard to make that kind of commitment. So
It's
I
hard.
encourage everyone to do what works for them, but do their homework.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what's really comforting about um, brands like yours, where you know you can fall back on supplements and you can fall back on these extra aids. You don't, I mean, obviously, people, we have to keep in mind, not everyone can afford to do homemade food with all these beautiful ingredients, or not everyone can afford to do vet certified standard of pet food, and that's okay. Again, you know, just do your research, make sure you're aware of what you're buying and where your dog's coming from, where your dog food is coming from. I hope you know where your dogs are coming from, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, just,
um,
you know, do the best you can with what your resources are and what works for you.
mhm.
And, you know, I'm a big supporter and proponent of that. Like, let's be realistic for
Yeah, and let's
who we
give ourselves
are.
back what we have. We've we've got jobs, we've got lives, we're looking after our pets. It's not easy. So well done for anyone who's just joined this live. Like, you're already taking a huge step in the right direction. Um,
Absolutely.
but I thought that this would be a good segue into my next question. We've obviously been speaking about older dogs a lot, but when can we start giving our dogs extra vitamins or supplements? Is that something that we can only do in their older years, or can we start doing that when they're puppies or adults? What does that
Oh,
look like?
it's definitely something that we can start doing in their younger years. I mean, I really, as I said before, I really encourage people to start giving their dog a hip and joint supplement before they start seeing signs of arthritis. To me, it's an insurance policy. And just really quickly, so my dog, Ollie, when I adopted him, he was about 9 months old, and he had had some kind of trauma before we got him. I don't know. I've asked him, but he's never told me. But he definitely had, an elbow injury and a spine injury. Maybe he was hit by a car. And so I started supplementing him as soon as I realized that, because I knew that now that he's 8 going on 9, that elbow that was injured is an issue for him. And so by starting supplementing him early, I know I helped do my best to help him stay active, help him stay healthy, and give his joints extra nourishment and extra food and extra nutrients. Also, a common thing that happens is a lot of dogs can benefit from pre and probiotics. And, if you've got a dog that tends to get an upset tummy, some dogs are more sensitive than others, you don't have to wait till they're older to supplement with a pre or a probiotic. And that can really make a difference to help control diarrhea and gut issues. So that's something that people can easily do. And also, I would say that in our hip and joint supplement, we include vitamin C. So dogs naturally produce vitamin C on their own, but as they age, their ability to do so tapers. And so, when our clients start giving our hip and joint supplements to their dogs, very often they say, wow, my dog is this, what happened? He's like the puppy again. And it's because, vitamin C does so many things for the body, right? It helps with healthy inflammatory response. It helps prevent, like us, it helps prevent colds and flu. So it helps prevent illness and injury. And it's a cofactor in the production of healthy cartilage and collagen and joint tissue. So, there are little things like that. So supplement, it's a very individual thing. I mean, if your dog is healthy and he's young, he might not need supplementation, right? But you have to do it, you sort of have to gear it towards the individual dog and figure out what their needs are and what works for them.
And I think that's what's so amazing about, if you can keep up those regular vet checks, is that your vet will obviously help steer you in the right direction as well. Because I think, Jane, you obviously are such a well-versed woman in the world of dogs, so it's probably a lot easier to spot an ailment compared to me.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. But, some of it is just really knowing our animals.
Yeah, and I think once you get to know your puppy or your dog and you figure out, okay, this isn't right, and also you trust your gut. Your gut has a lot to say about.
So true, Courtney.
Yeah. But for let's call it people like me, what some of the you can look for if your dog has an ailment, like when is it worth, like, okay, this isn't just my dog's having an off day, there's actually something I need to look, like the elbow, Ollie's elbow, for example, and when should you take them to a vet?
No, thank you. That's a really good question. And I think something that a lot of people wonder about. You know what? I'm just going to turn around. I noticed that it's getting rather dark in here. Let's see if I can help myself out with the light. No, that's not going to work. It's stormy outside all of a sudden.
I know.
In Santa Fe. Yeah, no, we're always happy to have moisture here in the desert. So, but what I would encourage everybody to do is know your dog, so that, like you said, know your dog and trust your gut. And also I encourage everyone to know what their dog's natural temperature, normal temperature, and respiration rate are, because those are two really good indicators that things are amiss. So for a dog, you want to think about their temperature for a normal range should be about 100 to like 102.5, and then a respiration rate of 18 to 24 breaths per minute. And, a smaller dog will have a faster respiration rate than a larger dog, but take those measurements when your dog is healthy. so that if there's a red flag happening, and I just want to give a shout out to Mary Emerson, who just joined us. Welcome. If you know what your dog's normal respiration rate is and normal temperature is, then you can use that as a guide. But, and also, you know, a little bit of diarrhea here and there, or, you know, if your dog throws up, I mean, I don't know about you, and I want to say welcome to Roar Simba, welcome. But, you know, my dog will eat any gross dead thing, you know, on the trail.
Toddler. A lot of gross things get
Oh, yeah. And so there's normal diarrhea and vomit, and then there's things like if your dog's stool is dark, that's an indication that has blood in it.
okay.
That is to the vet now. If your dog has diarrhea several days running, that's a go to the vet kind of thing. You know, if your dog throws up once, not
Yeah.
that big a deal, but if it's repeated, that's a red flag. If your dog suddenly becomes remarkably lethargic, that's a red flag. Also, the other thing that you should do, you know, and I talked about knowing your dog's normal temperature and respiration rate, heart rate, is if you press their gums, it's called the capillary refill rate. And look at their gums. If their gums look really pale, that's a sign maybe there's some internal bleeding.
Oh, I want to my dog's gums. I'm gonna wake them up.
But if you, I'm going to do this, sorry, excuse me here, but, you know, press and see how quickly, like when you press, it will become whiter, right? And see how quickly it becomes normal pink again. That's called the capillary refill rate. So these are just a few little things that you can put in your hip pocket, know what they are when your dog is healthy. So then if something happens, you can take a look and say, this doesn't feel right. Also, if you ever get that sixth sense, like something's wrong,
Yeah.
why wait?
Just do it. Go to the vet.
Go to the vet, you know?
Yeah, we
So
had a terrible story this weekend where we all trusted our gut and we took the dog to the vet, and the vet said, like he said, the dog was fine, just needs to go on antibiotics, but we all were like, there's something more here. And we took our other dog to the emergency vet, and we had to put him down. He had distemper. Yeah,
really?
so he picked that up. We don't know where, and he was just so awfully sick, and the doctors put him on antibiotics, and it just, yeah, it wasn't enough, unfortunately. So trust your gut. You know your dog better than anyone, and you'd rather say, well, there goes X amount of dollars, but I'm glad I know my dog's okay, or there goes X amount of dollars and my dog isn't okay, but we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there's that saying, mom knows best. There's some definite truth to that, you know? So yeah, trust your gut. And also I want to encourage everyone to think about doing regular annual checkups, because catching things early is so much better than catching things when it's, you know, the whole house is on fire, right?
Definitely.
And just a couple of quick things with senior dogs. If you've got a senior dog, ask your vet to do a senior dog exam, and they'll do some tests that will give them a baseline. So that tells them, right, if something's really off. So they might do a CBC, which will give them a reading of red blood cell and white blood cell counts, because elevated white blood cell counts are signs of infection. They might do, you know, have you do urinalysis, pH, which can test for things like kidney issues. Also, you know, some vets will do even a chest x-ray as part of a senior dog exam. And then there's a couple of other tests that they will do as well that are simple. They're not horrendously expensive. They give you a baseline, but the good news is they can detect if something is happening early, so you can catch it early when it's still relatively easy to treat, more affordable to treat, before it's like the 3-alarm fire, you
And
know?
would also be able to help you with that resting heart rate and the temperature? Would your vet be able to help you guide that? Because I know some people might find that tricky.
Yeah, and actually, thanks for asking that. You know, we actually have put together a pet health planner for folks, and it tells in there how to take your pet's heart temperature and respiration rate. And if anybody is interested in that, send me an email. My email address is Jane at WagWorthy, W-A-G, Worthy, W-O-R-T-H-Y, naturals.com. And I'll send you that for free. And I'll also send you a coupon for our supplements. So it's actually pretty simple to take it on your own, but it's certainly something that you could ask your vet for help with. And, you know, there's a statistic that makes me kind of sad, and it's sort of unbelievable, but 50% of all pets have not seen a vet in the last year of their lives. And that was a statistic that was given in a talk that I listened to by a well-known veterinarian. And that was a statistic that really gave me pause, because you think about, you know, our pets are like family, right? And I think about if those people had taken their pet in, even just for an annual checkup, and they could have caught something early before it became life-threatening, you
And
know?
that's glad we're having this chat, because sometimes you just need that reminder to be like, oh, I haven't taken the dog to the vet in so long. Like, let's go tomorrow. You know, sometimes you just, life gets in the way, and it's good to have these
Yeah,
reminders.
it's good to have a reminder. And also, you know, I just want to encourage everyone, if you don't, think about getting pet health insurance, because now, and if you can afford it, because now there's so many more things that veterinarians can do for our pets that
Mm.
even 10 or 15 years ago weren't available. And if you have pet health insurance, then you never have to think about, you know, am I going to pay that bill, or am I going to take care of my dog's health crisis?
Yeah, it's always good to be safe than sorry.
It is. Yeah, for sure. So,
Okay, well, this has actually gone on a lot longer than 30 minutes, Jane, but it's been so,
sorry.
no, it's been so great talking to you. I just had one last question for you, because what would a door buddy conversation be without a mentioning of door buddy?
We have
So
to talk Door Buddy. I love Door Buddy. They're awesome.
obviously a big problem a lot of our customers have is that the flipping dog won't get out of the cat litter and the cat food, and then they end up going to the vet because they've got clumped litter in their stomach and their dogs are so sick. So I was actually thinking about when we were talking about the signs that your dog has an ailment, and I was like, oh, must
Yeah.
definitely do a blog post on this.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And it's so important to keep for your dog's health, wellness, and well-being, to keep them out of the poop. And Door Buddy is such a great partner in making that happen, because we are the weak links, right? With the Door Buddy, there's never, oh, I forgot to close the door, or etc. But I want people to think about, you know, dogs are natural scavengers. So
Mm-hmm.
poop is like, oh, you know, for many dogs, it's a goodie, right? And
We
it's
call them
something to do.
roll.
Yeah. And you don't want your dog eating your cat's poop for several reasons. There could be parasites. Also, if you're medicating your cat, now you're medicating your dog too.
Mm.
But, you know, it could be a health issue, but it also could be boredom. It could be stress. It might mean that your dog needs more engagement, or it also could just mean that your dog is like mine and he's just a hardcore scavenger, you know? Your dog, in terms of deficiencies, it could be a vitamin B deficiency, or it could be, and this is something back to the homemade diets, either maybe you're feeding a low quality food, so your dog just isn't getting all the nutrition that they need, or you're feeding a homemade diet and you haven't done your due diligence. And so your dog isn't getting that complete spectrum of what it needs in terms of its health, wellness, and nutrition. So
they're not just being gross. There's always there's always
yeah, they're not just being gross, although
it is still gross.
I mean, dogs are animals, you know. And I don't know about you, but man, my dog loves nothing more than to find something that is kind of dead and decayed on a walk. And if I don't catch it quickly, he will eat
Yep.
it.
Well, that's
So
actually how we think that the dog that we had to put down over this weekend got sick. So, yep, I hear you.
I am so sorry. Heartfelt condolences to you. I'm
Oh,
so sorry to hear about that.
oh, thank you. No, it's okay. But thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But let's
Yeah.
end off on a good note. Jane, I just so appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. And I hope everyone who's joined us has learned a thing or two. I know I certainly have. I'm going to wake up James from his nap and check his gums and book a tomorrow.
And also, I want to, I am going to, I will send you these links so you could put them maybe in your Instagram stories to the petobesityprevention.org. And then email me if you want the pet health and wellness planner, and I'll send one to you, Courtney, and that's jane@wagworthynaturals.com. So thank you everyone for stopping by. Thank you, Courtney. It's so fun talking to you. And of course, I could go on all day about health and wellness because that's clearly my passion. And I just encourage everybody, just as a wrap up, use your door buddy, keep your dog out of your cat's poop, and think about their weight, think about their dental health, do those regular vet visits, get regular exercise, good for you, good for your dog. And think about, I'm just going to do a quick promotion, WagWorthy Naturals Hip and Joint Supplement. We've really done our due diligence. It's a great product, and think about giving it a try. So thanks everyone, appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great time, and I'll see you around the internet very soon.
Bye
Bye.
everyone.